Om Bhadram Kanaibihi Shranayama Devaha Bhadram Pashe Maksabir Yajatraha Stire Angais Stato Vamsa Tanubihi Vyasema Devahitam Yad Ayuha. May all the divine glories hear what is auspicious with our ears. O ye who are worthy of worship, may we see with our eyes what is auspicious and fortunate. May we enjoy the life allotted to us by divine graces, offering praise with our bodies strong of limb. Over the last few weeks, we have been dealing with Prasna Upanishad, and I wanted to go into a little bit more detail on some of the particular passages, particularly the fifth and sixth question. Because we have reviewed all the other questions, it's maybe not necessary to do all of that again. Just to give you an overview as a reminder, we are concerned when we ask questions, how did life begin? And just before we even start, we have to understand the importance of raising our curiosity. The life is full of questions. Sometimes in these various sessions, when we have a question and answer session, I ask people, do you have a question? And if you're in a live group of people, there are some who say, let me sit back. Somebody will ask a question. I don't have to ask a question. But when there's silence and nobody asks a question, then it becomes awkward for many people. Many people don't like to experience silence. So they feel they have to raise some subject matter of some kind. The more adventurous will ask a question. But what it means really is these questions that are being asked in this Upanishad, that gives the title to the whole Upanishad, is not because somebody is asking, do you have a question? It's not because people can't stand silence. It's not out of any superficial motive. It is out of a deep sense of curiosity. We want to know, what is the meaning of the world around us? What is life? How did it begin? And that really is the first question that is being asked. How did life begin? And what is a living being? Even if we take a small insect, even today I came across a very tiny, tiny insect, very small, with a winged creature. I don't think it was in the species of fly. Some other creature it was, struggling. And so I wondered, about this question of life. How did it arise? And its worldview must be that there's a whole universe which we're unable to see. It's the same thing with the human entity. When we take the size of the humans versus the vastness of the earth itself, then take the earth in proportion to the solar system. A spacecraft called Voyager went to the very edge, the very tremor, the very boundary of the solar system. It took many, many years, some 30 and odd years to reach. And that was when it was traveling at enormous speeds. And then when we look at a blank part of the universe through the Hubble telescope, we'll call the deep field of the Hubble, that is seeing a 1/10 of the visible sky, or 1/10 of the kind of diameter, if you will, of the sun, and look out in a blank space, only blackness seen. And over a period of time, what is revealed? The entire visible spectrum of the photographic plates that were taken, the images that were taken, is just sparkling like a Christmas tree with hardly any vacant space. And all of the shining objects are galaxies. Now we are in a position with modern technology and understanding of light and mass, we are able to count up approximately how many of these galaxies there are in our observable field alone. And it's several billion. And within that, several billion again of stars. And in proportion to that, see, where are we? So many light years across. Our own galaxy is so many light years across. And is there any limit? We don't know. Sometimes we feel like a small gnat, a small insect, surrounded by a vast universe, and we don't know what is its extent. So it's all proportionate. It's all proportionate. So the question that is naturally asked is, what is a living being? And we know what the answer is, because it brings it home to us in the context of the vast universe. And then what is the nature of man? And how is it? So these questions came up. And then real deeper questions. What establishes a man? What is the base? What is the foundation of a person? On what is all of this founded? And one axiom is there. Whatever happens here at the tiny microscopic level will happen at the vast macroscopic level as a law of nature. And applying this, we come across some concepts. Not only are we exploring the entire magnitude of existence itself, but we also understand that the range of our consciousness is also not limited and can be identified and observed. It's like a book that we can read. And this comes in three basic varieties. And we can call this our waking world, and then we drift off into a dream, and then we go into a dreamless sleep. This also has to be examined. And then finally, the fifth question. Now, it is taken for granted that this ancient sound symbol Om is the most sacred subject, or most sacred sound, and not only is it sacred, but it is also an object of meditation, a symbol of meditation. So often people take this Om, put it on t-shirts and what have you, and treat it very casually. But it's a very sacred sound symbol. Patanjali Yoga Sutras gives us this idea that we should not only repeat this sound symbol, but also meditate on its meaning. In fact, without meditating on its meaning, it seems hardly worth repeating it. The fifth question will ask us, that which is the sound Om, this is the meaning of the question. What world does that person, what world is there, what benefit is there to a person who meditates on the symbol Om for all his whole life? What will he win or what will he gain by that? That's essentially the question. Shankaracharya explains that this word, abhidhana, which is used, that is meditate or contemplate, is more than just thinking. He sees this as intense contemplative activity from all distractions. Bahya vishayebhya upasamhrita karanaha samahila chuto. This intensive concentration on it. But this Om symbol arrives with three sound symbols or three sound syllables. And we also have to remind ourselves that this Prasna Upanishad is related to the Mandukya Upanishad. They are all part of the Atharva Veda. And so this is a follow-on. Having had an exposition of the fundamental questions raised in the Mandukya Upanishad, to ask what is the basis of everything, what is the substantial thing, and if we are able to know it, can we know everything? But then the Mandukya Upanishad gives us 12 short stanzas explaining and elaborating the meaning of this Om. And so I thought it worthwhile just to finish off our study, which is really a brief study on this Prasna Upanishad, by making some comments on this. I'm going to go back to this Patanjali Yoga Sutras, and I'm using Swami Vivekananda's wonderful, wonderful commentary on this. He gives a vast commentary just on this sutra. Tasya vachahaka pranavaha om. Tasya vachakaha pranavaha om. Having said that, there is an entity who is very ancient, who is the culmination of all knowledge, the teacher of teachers, not being limited by any time, not being limited by any space. Patanjali then tells us that its manifesting word is Om. Now, in the Sankhya structure, there is a potentiality that we call God, where nothing is happening, the complete equilibrium of forces, and then an eruption of such forces that arrive as a manifesting primordial sound, Om, equivalent really to Hiranyagarbha or cosmic mind, what we call God, personal God. So Swami Vivekananda makes this wonderful, wonderful commentary, and I'm going to read it. Every idea, he says, that you have in the mind has a counterpart in the word. The word and the thought are inseparable. See, when you repeat a word, immediately an image comes into the mind, the form comes into the mind. Supposing I say, in the country way, please do not think of a duck, then a duck will immediately appear on your mind, in your head, in your mind. It's impossible not to think of something. Having mentioned a word, a corresponding image comes. So that there's a word and a concept coming together, a name and a form, nama rupa. Now the external part of one and the same thing is what we call a word. And the internal part is what we call thought. The word, something tangible to the ear, something picked up by the ear and going through a whole process, audio process, being deciphered by a brain now. And that is accompanied by a thought. No man, he says, can by analysis separate thought from word. The idea that language was created by men, certain men sitting together and deciding upon words, really has been proved to be wrong. So long as man has existed, there have been words and language. Now we can even say that anthropologically on the shores of Africa, on the beaches of Africa, there's something called the aquatic ape theory, where language was necessitated because the thought was there and how to communicate the complex variety of thoughts just for survival, just for social communication. So he says, what is the connection between an idea and a word? Although we see that there must always be a word with a thought, it's not necessary that the same thought requires the same word. The thought may be the same in 20 different countries, yet the languages are different. We must have a word to express each thought. But these words need not necessarily have the same sound. Sounds will vary in different nations, our commentator says. And the commentator in this case would be Vyasa with Vachaspati's gloss and so on. Although the relation between the thought and word is perfectly natural, yet it does not mean a rigid connection between one sound or one idea. These sounds vary, yet the relation between the sounds and the thoughts is a natural one. The connection between thoughts and sounds is good only if there be a real connection between the thing signified and the symbol. By repeating the sound Om and not understanding the thought, that is, what is the meaning, it doesn't seem to be connected very well. So, a symbol is the manifestation manifest of the thing signified. And if the thing signified has already an existence, and if by experience we know that the symbol has expressed that thing many times, such as Om, then we are sure that there is a real relation between them. Even if the things are not present, there will be thousands who will know them by their symbols. There must be a natural connection between the symbol and the thing signified. Then when that symbol is pronounced, it recalls what is signified. Now the commentator says that the manifesting word of this supreme thing, this God, is Om. And why does he emphasize this word? Is it a word in any language? Or is it something that universally signifies what is meant to be? There are hundreds of words for God. In the Quran, there are 99 names of God, all denoting various qualities. And we can call God Bhagwan, we can call God Ishvara. There are many names that we can use. The English word God comes from the Germanic Hud, G-U-D, which in turn comes from the Sanskrit Hutam, the one worthy of offering to. But when we say God, do we really think of this? Or do we make a mistake? Do we think that there is a disconnected entity sitting above the clouds who we can bring out on special holidays and Sundays, or depending on your religion, Fridays or Saturdays? So the idea God is connected with hundreds of words, and each one stands as a symbol for God. Very good. But there must be a generalization among all these words, some substratum, some common ground of all these symbols. And that which is the common symbol will be the best and will really represent them all. So in making a sound, we use the larynx and the palate as a sounding board. Is there any material sound of which all other sounds must be manifestations? One which is the most natural sound. So he's putting forward this sound as such, Om. Now we study in the Mandukya Upanishad that this Om, as three separate sounds, represents every single avenue of objective consciousness that we have. And the Prasna Upanishad is taking this out. Now supposing we take this Om with A representing our waking state, as the Mandukya Upanishad takes it. Supposing then we understand Om really to be an emphasis of this first sound symbol, then we'll be thinking of worldly things, earthly things. Even generally speaking, if we repeat Om with the intention, or any other mantra with the intention of gaining something in this world, in this life, that is of material benefit, no doubt we'll get it. But the purpose of life, according to traditional Hinduism, would be fourfold. That is, we want to be good citizens. We want to live our life in social, mental freedom and harmony. That is, we want to get on with our fellow person for the benefit and welfare of everybody. And that means we have to have moral and ethical codes. So one life would be the thing that knits everything together in harmony we call dharma. But then as we proceed, naturally we have to sustain our physical living, our physical being, our social circle, and we have to create wealth. But the wealth in a selfless way, that is according to dharma, would be for the benefit of everybody. We are one cog in a whole wheel of machinery. And if one cog in a machine is missing, the whole thing is useless. Supposing you have a car and the engine is missing a distributor or a distributor cap, the whole thing doesn't move. Nothing operates. Remove one part, the whole thing is hijacked, is thwarted, the whole thing becomes non-functional. A vital part. The human body has so many parts. Supposing you say, well, being so many parts, at least I can do without one. Well, you might be able to do without a limb. You might be able to do without a leg. But you can't do without a heart. And even if you replace the heart with artificial components, or a lung with artificial components, even those components are necessary. So, again, if you take this middle section, this intermediate sound, oh, maybe you want to take that, then if that represents a dream consciousness, and its corresponding extrapolated version in the cosmos is some kind of heaven, some intermediate area, some place where you enjoy the fruits of your waking life, then that's what you'll get. So like this, there's one key understanding the whole of meditation practice. Whatever you meditate on comes to you. How many people today are meditating on the COVID virus? Many people are seeing an upsurge in many different countries, an out-of-control scenario, creating a great deal of confusion, grief, and fear. Supposing we make this the object of our meditation, that is exactly what we'll get. So we are the prophets of our own thinking. We are the creators of our own world. We are the people who order our package from the courier service, whatever it is. And when it arrives at our door, we can't say, I don't want that. Well, we ordered it. And on the package, we cannot return it to the sender. Non-refundable. So in the same way, when a thought leaves, it's like the thought and every action is accompanied by thought, leaving as an arrow from a bow. When we talk about karma, this is what we're talking about. We're talking about things which have left our area and then gone in for a materialization, just as we put any order in to any online company. Please supply this. These are the specifications. Now, if we put in truth and beauty and goodness and love and harmony, this will come to us. And it comes immediately in a physical sense, because there is a corresponding vibration that is going on in every cell of the body, in every fiber of our being. 700 trillion cells, whatever they are, all vibrate with your thinking.